In almost every single photo that I do, one of the things I have to do is whiten the eyes. It almost doesn't seem, no matter how much light we pour into the eyes in the studio or outside, it's something I have to do to almost every single photo nevertheless. And it is whitening the eyes. Whitening the eyes is because they usually look gray. The eyes, if you look at them themselves, they look gray. But I also want to warn you, the biggest mistake, probably the #1 dead giveaway of someone who's just started retouching is over whitening the eyes. So I'm going to show you how to whiten them and how to do it right so you don't over whiten it and have that bad giveaway. All right. So here's the image. Look at how much light this image has. It's got a beauty dish 3 feet from our subject's face, another softbox right below it, so it's a clamshell lighting kind of setup, tons of light, and look, the eye still looks gray. So let me back off a little so you can see a little better. The eyes still look gray on both sides. Here's what we're going to do to get rid of this. We're going to, let's start off right here. Duplicate the background layer and change the blend mode from normal to screen, which is going to make the entire photo brighter. Well, yeah, and look how nice and white the eyes are now, but of course everything else is blown out. So once again, we're going to hide this brighter layer behind a layer mask. So we're going to hold the Option key on Mac, the Alt key on PC. We're going to click the layer mask icon. So Option click on Mac, Alt click on PC. The brighter version of her with the better eyes is hidden back there behind this black mask. We're going to make sure we paint in white, because the mask is black. We paint in the opposite color white. Get the brush tool, and we're going to paint over the whites of the eyes. Now, I used to try to be very, very careful about making sure that I perfectly painted this in and I didn't spill out or anything. Let's set the opacity up at 100% for the brush. And I used to really worry about that. And I'd try to get the brush really tiny to get all these spaces, and then I realized there's a better way to do it. So don't worry about if you spill out. So just stay away from the edge of the iris, that dark circle that goes around the outside of the iris. Stay away from that and just paint in everything else. All right, just like this. Now, I spilled over a bunch. You can toggle it on and off and see where I spilled over all over the place. Here's what I found. It's much easier to go and erase your mistakes than it is to try to paint it perfectly the first time. Much, much easier, much, much faster. So here's how you paint away your mistakes and why layer masks are so wonderful. If you make a mistake, go over here and switch your foreground color to black. So now the mask is black and you're painting in black. This is mistake mode. This lets you go, whoops, I didn't mean to paint over that, and I didn't mean to paint over that. Look how fast you fix that. Go over here and say, whoops, I didn't mean to paint over that, and I spilled out over there. And that's it, you're done. Now, if you want to see if you missed anything, just go and toggle it on back and forth real quick, and I can see a little area I missed right over here. Toggle it on back and forth, you know right where to go. Whoops, spilled a little out right there. Got it. All right, now, to end right now with this very, very, very bright white eyes would be the mistake. That would be the classic mistake that people make, because a lot of times we do this with the eye really zoomed in like this, and you think it looks okay. And then you zoom back out and you go, uh-oh, it looks alien. So here's what you have to do. Go to the opacity and lower it down to at least 50%. So lowering the power, the whiteness of the eyes down to 50 makes it look much more realistic. Now look. And see, you might even get away with 45 here. Let's go a little lower. 44. Maybe something in the 40% range. Yeah, that looks good. So it just popped a little bit of light back in there. It looks much more natural. They don't look like the grays of the eyes anymore. They look the whites of the eyes. And again, you're going to have to choose the right amount. There is no officially sanctioned right amount of opacity for the brightness of the eyes. But I can tell you the one thing that you don't want to do is don't make it 70% or 80% in most cases, or it's going to look very artificial. So just remember that at the end of all this, there is no absolute amount for any of this. It depends on the photo that you're working on. You have to make a choice of what looks good to you, because you're doing these for you. You're the photographer, you're the retoucher. You're going to make decisions that look good to you. So I can tell you, in my experience, to me, in my eye, it generally looks good between 50% and maybe down to 35%. Somewhere in there looks good. A lot of times 50% is fine. But I hardly can ever remember a case where I had to use more than 50%. So you can see this method takes a little bit longer and a little bit more than it did to just brighten the dark eye sockets. So you would only do this on portraits where your subject is close enough to where it's really going to make a difference.